Toxic masculinity finds its place on the shadow sides of these very great characteristics, these great archetypes. So for the warrior, you have the masochist. There's two sides of each of these hands. You have the masochist, who is self-abasing, self-damaging. They don't want to go to battle, and it's easier for them. They don't want to go out and create something new for them. It's easier for them to damage themselves, and so you abuse yourself so no one would really call on you to be noble, valiant, courageous, heroic. The other side of that hand is the active dark, which is the sadist, somebody who then goes and damages others in order to try to get what they want in the world. It, in fact, is all about themselves, what they can grab and manipulate and bash to get what they need. The way to win there is in a context that's bigger than just you providing for you.
Hi, and welcome to Stacks Over Tax. My name is Sterling Grace, and this is Mark Lewis. And today we're going to talk about the 4 archetypes of masculine energy, which really shows up in both men and women, as this is the energy that's used to produce and provide everything that we do in the world. As we go through, you're going to see that you use multiple energies at the same time, and you're going to be able to sort of assess where you are, where you could add some of one of the other archetypes, or whether maybe where some of it's gotten a little in the shadow side on one of those, and maybe you could pull back a little bit. So
yeah, for sure. So there's 4. And there's a lot of archetypes. It just depends on who you're reading or what the show is you're watching. You know, every kind of person has their own blend of various things. And why this matters to us is because in finance, which is generally what we talk about, and especially as it relates to relationships, because we can't split off relationships from finance. If you want to have a loving relationship, somewhere in there, we have to be honest about what's going on with our finances. It's important to know which energy we're running at any particular time, which energy is dominant in us. And specifically with men. Women, we'll have a podcast specifically about how those work, because it's less cut and dry. It's a lot more ethereal and magical. With men, it's very much this, or this, and some blend in between. And of the 4 archetypes, warrior is the one that, you know, gets ascribed to the, oh, well, this is dangerous and men are up to bad things and they're killing people and all of that. That, yes, warriors have killed people. But this isn't a warrior as a definition for your job. This is a warrior for who you be energetically. And you can change these if you know what they are. If you don't know what they are, then these are just running you autonomically. And you might be one of the other ones, like king or magician or lover. But if you don't know which one you are, if you don't even know what they are, then you don't have the ability to choose which one you might need to be from moment to moment, which is totally possible. You might want to walk in and be a warrior and be very focused and create camaraderie and, whatever you might need to result there. And then the next meeting you're at, you need to be compassionate. You need to be connected. You need to be present. That's the lover. You might want to need to, the next meeting at dinner with the parents or whatever. You're like, oh, I need to create abundance and create a realm and be able to, provide and, create a sense of connection, but in a realm in which I'm running. And this is the same in finance. If you're walking into a meeting, if you're dealing with investments, if you're looking at your retirement or your generational wealth, being a warrior when it comes to retirement, it doesn't really work that well. You want to be more on the lover and the king side. But when you're looking at profit and loss statements, you definitely don't want to be the king. You want to be the magician. So we're going to talk about all this. You're like, what is he talking about? So I just want to give you the overview of why this matters. Because if you don't have an understanding of what these are as a man, then whatever your default is just going to keep running. It's like somebody talking in a monotone voice all the time. It's not really very interesting. You don't have a lot of choice in the matter. With the understanding of the multiple energies, you can go, I think I probably need to be in this one right now. Okay, choose it, activate it, go. The warrior is, again, not about creating damage, but it is about creating results in a very focused and organized and determined manner. I'm going after that. If you read the Bible, it says that you should set your face like a flint, meaning you're pointing in one direction, not to be turned anywhere else, to the exclusion of all else. You create results, you put out a lot of energy, and in its highest form, you're committed to something that's greater than yourself. So when a warrior, the actual practical sense, when a warrior goes to battle, he doesn't go out to fight for himself. That's really dumb. Why would you put yourself at risk, really? I mean, unless it was your neighbor or something and they were taking your sheep, or who knows. But if it's a bunch of men going out together to fight another bunch of men, why would they do that? That doesn't make any sense unless there's something higher than each of their individuals that they're going to want to fight for. It's one of the powerful things around generational wealth. If you're creating a generational wealth conversation, that is one that is greater than you. It's going to last longer than you. And you're like, well, yeah, but a minute ago you said that warrior isn't good for that. Yes, I know. You probably need something, if you're jumping into the warrior energy, that's bigger than just my family. It's got to be even bigger. Unless that is all you're doing, fine. But if you're like, I got to go work, I got a contract, I have a corporation, I have, a nonprofit. Those are all going to need a much larger context for you than just, I'm getting a paycheck. If I'm just getting a paycheck, it's going to be very difficult for you to go to battle every day. You're going to go, this is dumb. Why am I doing this? And you're going to have a lack of fulfillment. Now, for each of these archetypes is also a shadow side. Mm-hmm. So normally we talk about the good things. Yeah, that's great. But if, we talk about the toxic masculinity, well, toxic masculinity finds its place on the shadow sides of these very great characteristics, these great archetypes, and shadows there are. So for the warrior, you have the masochist. And there's two sides of each of these hands. You have the masochist, who is, self-abasing, self-damaging. They don't want to go to battle, and it's easier for them. They don't want to go out and create something new for them. It's easier for them to damage themselves. And, back in the old days, they used to have what's called 4F. And if you were drafted for the Vietnam War or World War II, and you had a physical problem, you were 4F and you couldn't serve. You didn't have to go to war. You were just physically inept or unable, cast aside. So you want to 4F yourself so that you won't have to do it. So you abuse yourself so no one would really call on you to be noble, valiant, courageous, heroic. The other side of that hand is the active dark, which is the sadist. Somebody who then goes and damages others in order to try to get what they want in the world. And that's not a positive warrior energy. Of course, it is a warrior energy, but not one that's going to, in the end, benefit a higher calling than themselves. It, in fact, is all about themselves and what they can grab and manipulate and bash to get what they need. So that's how the warrior shows up, and really great for us when we're working, when we're trying to be focused, when we're trying to create results. And again, the way to win there is in a context that's bigger than just you providing for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. It reminds me, I was thinking about the warlord, right? Like, yeah, it's definitely the opposite kind of feeling, right? As opposed to the warrior. So, yeah, I loved that. That was amazing. The one everyone wants to be, I'm joking, kind of, is the king. So, and there's lots of conversation in the world right now about kings, and I have had the good privilege of working for some truly, truly amazing kings. And so I feel a little bit spoiled in this department. But why don't you tell us about your interpretation about the king?
Well, it's sort of not my interpretation. Most of what we're talking about comes out of this book by Roger Moore and Douglas Gillette, which is by the same name, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. And, in the men's work that I'm involved in, this is kind of one of our Bibles that we apply, because it just works so very well. And it's such great information for, again, being able to choose the machinery and distinguish the machinery that's running us, at least as men, and be able to go, I don't like that one. Let's fix this up now that we can see it. Because if you can't see what's running you inside, and if you don't know what's going on in your finances because you just didn't do a budget and you're not looking at your credit card statements, or you don't know what your investor is doing with all of your capital, or what your CPA is doing with your taxes, then you can't actually fix the problem. You just go, how come I don't have any money? Well, I don't know. I'll just keep working, I guess. That doesn't work. So you're asking about the king. Unlike the warrior, who's focused and determined, the king is centered and creates structure. And you're like, well, doesn't a warrior create structure? Not really, no. In fact, a warrior is sort of the opposite. It creates chaos. When you see big movie battlefields, do you see warriors creating structure and building bulwarks and, making castles? No, it's melee and cacophony and chaos and just stuff piles of awful gross everywhere, and damage and pain and withering anguish. So there's not a lot of let's build structure, let's consider others, let's create abundance for ourselves, and let's create a sense of not only offense but a sense of defense, a sense of well-being for everybody. And I'm doing this feeling because it's in my realm and I want to expand my realm. Well, what's the best way to expand my realm? Probably to use warrior energy to do that. I might have to step out or enroll other warriors to come work to, because the king doesn't necessarily go to battle all the time. He's trying to build bulwarks. He's trying to keep everybody safe and the economy going in his little village or his keep. But the warriors are out expanding. So on the king side, that's how that works. And again, there's a dark side to the king energy. And one side of the hand is the weakling. The weakling is somebody who's like, well, the child king who's easily manipulated to do whatever they think that whoever's manipulating them knows to do, usually a magician. And then the other side of that is, of course, the tyrant, someone who doesn't listen to anybody in his realm, just goes, I say this, then you go do it because I said it, like a belligerent parent or something. Well, why gotta do that? Because I said so. That's tyranny, right? So with the king energy, we kind of have a misnomer like, oh, when you arrive at king, then you've arrived. It's no better an energy than the warrior or the lover. They're all important. And if you find a man who's just really put his weight on one of those energies, even king energy is not really a well-rounded man. And again, another really important reason why we need to distinguish what these elements are so that we can check, hey, is this something that I'm weak in? Let me work on this. Like for me, king energy and lover energy is something that I'm constantly trying to improve and expand in, because it's easy for me to be warrior magician. Most of my life is warrior magician everywhere. So does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. I love that explanation. That's super, super helpful. And I think you're right. I think a lot of times people think that there is a finish line of like, oh, I'm just going to get, the empire that I'm envisioning, and maybe the wife I'm envisioning, and the heirs I'm envisioning, and the car maybe that I'm envisioning, and then it will be done, perfect, simple, easy. There'll be relief, really. And I've been having a conversation lately about burning your finish lines, because it isn't how it works in reality. And you might have a moment of reprieve, but it doesn't mean that you're done. And I don't know that you're ever done. I think we got to get rid of this conversation going on that there's going to be a promised land experience where it's all of a sudden going to all be aligned and perfect and feel good. And there's always some beautiful place to grow into. Which is one of the things I love about the archetypes, is that like even if you get a little bit, even if you get proficiency, right, you're super proficient at being a warrior. If you get proficiency, there's another area then to grow in one of the other spaces. So, magician is probably one of my very favorite. I love having a business partner that's a magician. It's super, super fun because it's something you have tons of muscle in. I definitely think this is one of the most, this will be one of the coolest ones to hear you talk about. So.
Yeah, magician is one that's, I think it's the most underrated. Because people are like, oh, a magician, that's stupid, pulling rabbits out of hats and weird things and card tricks. Yes, but no. everybody wants to be the lover or the warrior, the king. Yeah. Well,
That's funny. I don't think about magicians like rabbits in hats. I think about it like warlocks.
yeah, it's much more like somebody like I don't know, necromancer. It's not pulling energy from the dead, but yeah, a warlock, somebody who's a much higher power who doesn't just do tricks, but it's like manipulating the natural forces of the world and transmuting things into something else, taking this dirt and turning it into energy, taking this sunlight and turning it into a reactor, or turning money into huge buildings. That's what a magician does. Taking kind of ordinary things that most people would pass by and be like, whatever, I'm moving on, and going, I have a vision for that. That could be something great. So the entrepreneurs are really deep in the magician energy, always thinking, how can we make this better? There's never enough. There's always another great spell that we can cast to create a bigger result. So a lot of these guys a lot of these men who are magicians are mentors. They're like keepers of the sacred knowledge, which they're wisdom wise. They're sages. They're those kinds of situations where they have esoteric knowledge to participate or to put out to everybody to make life better. Now, again, there's the shadow side. The shadow side is somebody who is on the active dark is the manipulator. They've used their knowledge, their power for evil to move people into ways that damage them. Now, some people say, well, isn't that what sales is? I'm like, well, it's not really. Good sales is you're showing them something that they need because it will benefit them. Now, it obviously benefits you if they buy it, but bad manipulation is, I know what you need, but I need you to do that, even though it damages you. That's the manipulation.
Very trickster energy, very coyote and trickster energy. So not good for long-term relationships in any form.
No, not really. That's where you start seeing, the manipulator in the sociopathic kinds of energies there. And then the other side of it is the inert side is detached. I isolate. I'm over here. I'm just going to keep all my energy to myself. I'm going to keep all my knowledge to myself and not share it because I'm disempowered in that magician energy. And magicians are, when you find one, because they're always coming up with some new way to do something. And a lot of times inventors are magicians, not always, but if they're inventing something in a way, and that can be in finance, you're creating something new, like what Sterling and I do. We've created something completely new, a new way of organizing finance for folks is like completely came out of a magician's energy. But if it's just taking the same old parts and reorganizing them, that isn't necessarily magician energy. That could be warrior energy. But magician, the difference is they're really synthesizing, they're creating that spell that puts things together that shouldn't come together and, abracadabra, make something new. And people are like, wow, that's amazing. That's kind of what the magician's like.
Yeah. They're super magnetizing. That's one of the other things. They're good at pulling what they need, the resources, the people, relationships, all sorts of stuff. They're great at magnetizing to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one I think that people may find funny about how it relates to business is the lover energy. And I think sometimes people have that mixed up with seductress energy or, dandy energy or charmingness, which is, not light necessarily always. But yeah, what can you tell us about lover?
Yeah, lover is something that a lot of men who are in their feminine side easily gravitate toward because it's an easy energy to pull up. And men who are trying to be masculine, like, oh, no, I don't want that. I want to be tough. Well, on the dark side of magician is the manipulator, but on the light side of lover is the compassionate. And compassion manipulates or connects with people far better than actually just trying to push them into something they really want to do, getting by their defenses. Actually, you can get by people's defenses by just loving and being compassionate and being present with them. And then they're much more apt to do what you need in a much more positive way. And this is the power of being a lover, in that you're able to see people where they're at. You're not in your head about how can I be focused on this other thing over here, or how can I build something, or how can I generate something new. It's like, no, I'm just going to be with you. I'm going to be compassionate, and I don't necessarily have to be empathetic. That's not very masculine, to be empathetic. Nothing wrong with it. It's just we don't want to feel your feelings. That's not us. We would be compassionate and be like, oh, that sounds horrible. I'm so sorry to hear that. What else about that? Tell me more. Speak more about that. That's the lover, going really connecting in a safe way where we're able to share each other's ideas, feelings, and everything else. And the idea being that the lover feels fully. Feels fully not only what they're feeling, but is full compassion for what's going on over there. So they're also attuned to beauty and art, music. They're very connected to that. And, when I was in Hollywood for 30 years, I was very in tune to all that thing, just as a career path, generating art, media, those kinds of things. You have to have some connectedness to that. Otherwise, you're a weird automaton, probably not making very good art or music or anything else. So the opposite, the dark side, is the addicted lover. You're sort of codependent, you're attached, you're melded with somebody, and they can't really get away, and you're holding on to them, and they're like, I'm just trying to be myself. No, you have to be what I say. And they just can't get away. The addicted lover. The other side is the impotent lover, which doesn't have anything to do with your parts. It just has to do with your way of being. If love is meant to be an integrated process, I don't want to integrate. This person or this thing or this money might want to integrate, but you're like, no, it's too much for me. I want to be apathetic. It's safer for me to be over here separate from you than to take the risk of actually being vulnerable and being connected to you. This is the same thing in finance. It's not just relationships, y'all. The same thing in finance. Do I really want to invest and connect with the possible energy flow? Do I really want to build business? Do I want to put investment into my business? Or do I want to just kind of do the safe thing that happens over and over again, but there's no particular benefit other than I'm just getting payments. I'm supporting somebody else to do their vision, their magician work. So that's kind of how the lover is. And it may sound very strange to the feminine energy. Like, well, that's not very nice. I don't like that. Yeah, I know. But from the man's side, it's very empowering. And we want to be able to choose all four and be able to go, what do I need to be? What energy in which do I need to be to get the result that I need here? If I'm with my partner, do I need to be the warrior there? Probably not. Probably the lover and the magician. I'm going to take their curiosity, I hope, or their expression and transmute it, abracadabra, poof, into something new that could benefit everyone. Am I going into a business meeting? Okay, well, it depends on who I am in that business meeting. Am I running the business meeting? Then I'm definitely going to be the warrior and the magician. Am I somebody who's trying to work this way up in the business meeting? Then I'm definitely the magician and definitely the lover, because I got to be compassionate and connect with this person, because I'm never going to get ahead if they don't like me. There's just so many ways to be able to build this, even in an investment side. Hey, I'm going to go buy an apartment complex. Well, who do I need to be? Which energy do I need to be to get the best deal there? So hopefully this makes sense. And again, the book describes all of this very, very well, but we're bringing it up here on Stacks Over Tax because, the energies in which we run relationships are inextricably connected to how we do finance. You can't do finance without relationships. Some of y'all trading your Bitcoin on your computer at home. Yeah, okay, I get it. But that is a very isolated loop. And eventually we want to expand into real estate, business, retirement, generational wealth, charitable work. It's not going to be this little thing where it has to expand. Otherwise it will contract. So in what energy will we expand? Now you have some choice in the matter.
I love this. This was so educational, and it definitely has me go and look and see where sometimes do I use one when another one served me better, and I start getting curious about how I could shift relationships and conversations and projects by bringing a different part of myself to that. So,
and like Sterling said earlier, what you said earlier, this is not just for men.
No, this is very much more masculine energy, about the energy you use to produce in the world and provide and protect. Right. And I think a lot of times people think that even being a parent or owning a company, in which there's somewhat relatedness around being a parent and owning a company. Like, you are the provider. It's very masculine energy to take care of something and to make sure that even the smallest in that tribe have what they need and feel supported and grow. And so, yeah, I think that's, now with all the various gender conversations that are happening, which is beautiful. I think it's really important to delineate the difference between masculine energy and feminine energy. And definitely the workplace is one that more masculine energy gets driven at. Not that there's not a place for the feminine. We'll talk about that really soon, and how we use it together in our business partnerships. Specifically, because it's really valuable. I spent most of my career in the world with all men, and I definitely get to be the feminine energy in those spaces, and it massively shifts what happens, especially in relationship to people. I have a really profound experience being able to make and keep relationships in business for decades. So, which I think I definitely bring a combination of things to be able to do that. So we'll talk about that in another episode. And but thanks so much for telling us today about the book. Big shout out to the authors. We love your book. We use your work in our business. We use our work with our children, and we're very grateful for what you've provided in the world. So wonderful. Well, until another day, be wealthy, be successful, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye for now.